Coevolution. In biology, coevolution is the change of biological object triggered by the change of a related object. In other words, when changes in at least two species genetic compositions reciprocally affect each other's evolution, coevolution has occurred. For example, bumblebees and the flowers they pollinate have co-evolved so that both have become dependent on each other for survival. There is evidence for coevolution at the level of populations and species. For example, the concept of coevolution was briefly described by Darwin on the origin of species and developed in detail in fertilization of orchids. It is likely that viruses and their hosts may have co-evolved in various scenarios. However, there is little evidence of coevolution driving large-scale changes in Earth's history, since abiotic factors such as mass extinction and expansion into ecospace seem to guide the shifts in the abundance of major groups. One specific example is the evolution of high-crowned teeth in grazers, where grasslands spread through North America. Long held up as an example of coevolution, we now know that these events happened independently. Coevolution can occur at many biological levels. It can be as microscopic as correlated mutations between amino acids in a protein, or as macroscopic as covariant traits between different species in an environment. Each party in a coevolutionary relationship exerts selective pressures on the other, thereby affecting each other's evolution. Coevolution of different species includes the evolution of a host species and its parasites, host-parasite coevolution, examples of mutualism evolving through time. Evolution in response to abiotic factors such as climate change is not biological coevolution, since climate is not alive and does not undergo biological evolution. The general conclusion is that coevolution may be responsible for much of the genetic diversity seen in normal populations, including blood plasma polymorphism, protein polymorphism, histocompatibility systems. The parasite-host relationship is probably what drove the prevalence of sexual reproduction over the more efficient asexual reproduction. It seems that most sources determine that when a host is infected by a parasite, sexual reproduction affords a change of resistance through variation in the next generation, giving sexual reproduction viability for fitness not seen in the asexual reproduction, which would only generate another generation of the organism susceptible to infection by the same parasite. Coevolution is primarily a biological concept, but has been applied by analogy to fields such as computer science, sociology, international political economy, and astronomy. Read about the models, coevolution types, coevolution in the fossil record, specific examples, hummingbirds and ornithophilus flowers, agrocoid orchids, old world swallowtail, garter snake and rough-skinned newt, California buckeye and pollinators, acacia ant and bullhorn acacia tree, yucca moth and the yucca plant, coevolution outside biology, biological applications, technological coevolution, algorithms, cosmology and astronomy. Read all about coevolution, coevolution, coevolution.